Hi, I'm Kevin Cummings. At Investors Bank, we believe in helping our local neighborhoods and improving the lives of all we serve. We're a different bank that makes a difference for our employees, clients, and communities. That's why we're proud to support public television and the programming produced by the CAUCUS Educational Corporation.
Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by New Jersey Resources, Steve and Elaine Pozycki, the New Jersey Education Association, the Northward Center, Investors Bank, New Jersey Sharing Network, dedicated to saving lives through organ and tissue donation, and by Choose New Jersey. Our mission is attracting companies to the Garden State. Promotional support provided by The Record, North Jersey's trusted source, and NorthJersey.com. And by NJ Biz, all business, all New Jersey.
This is One-on-One.
When you first heard that they were doing Charlie Rose and Gayle King, didn't you go, what?
People like laughing at others, so I don't mind if the other is me.
See, you go right into the character. That's what it is.
I'm bringing families together a half an hour each week. Man, I'm doing something special.
And so I do feel successful.
If you just have a person that cares about you, when all you hear is how bad you are, that you're more likely to drop out, that you're not doing well in school, and what's the point? That's what goes through your head. But if you have a person that is there to make sure that you're not thinking that, that makes the world of difference.
That's good stuff. And the man behind it is Dax-Devlon Ross, Executive Director, After School All-Stars in New York and Newark. Good to see you.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for
Describe
having me.
this program.
So it's a comprehensive after-school program. We work mostly in Title I schools across the country.
Describe Title I.
Title I schools are schools that are identified as particularly serving low-income areas. So it's usually a federal standard for number of students or percentage of students who qualify for free and reduced lunch. So that's the basis upon which that judgment is typically made across the country. So if you know if the school is Title I, that means a certain percentage of their students, typically more than 75% of the students, qualify for free and reduced lunch, which is an indicator of low income status.
What goes on in these programs? What goes on when kids get there? By the way, hours 3 to 6?
3 to 6 every day.
What goes on? And why is 3 to 6 so important? Go ahead.
Well, 3 to 6 is so important because that's the time of day when, we start to see juvenile crime spike. It's the time of day when parents are still working, but students are no longer in school because, so therefore, they're very susceptible to falling into things we don't want them to fall into, which is gangs, out-of-school activities that are not structured. So what we do is we provide academic support, which is homework help, which is STEM and literacy programs. Also
back up,
enrichments.
STEM and literacy, science, technology, education.
I know, I use that acronym
and
so much.
Math. So why is that whole STEM thing so big for them?
Because I think this particular group of students, the students that come from the backgrounds that we serve, are the students that don't often get the enrichment activities that will spark the interest, that will help catapult them into high school and college programs and ultimately into careers, which is where we see the gap mostly right now, is that there's a tremendous gap nationally around students of color in particular who are introduced to and pursuing careers in STEM fields.
You teach them how to study. You teach them how to stay focused. Do you teach them anything about, because I'm a student of leadership, I'm a student of how it is that people lead themselves before they can lead anyone else. Do you teach them how it is they need to interact with others?
Absolutely. One of the pillars of our program is servant leadership, and that is understanding that to whom much is given, much is expected. And that goes for our programs, our program participants.
How do you teach that to kids?
How do you teach that to kids? You engage them in service learning projects from the very beginning. You get them to understand.
For example? So,
for example, we do whether it's cleanups or whether it's care packages for other kids who might be less to have less than they do. So it's all those sorts of things during the holidays. It's when we run our basketball camps, it's cleaning up a basketball court, painting the basketball court that they're going to both play on and also have for other people. So it's anytime we do anything, we incorporate some portion of a servant leadership component.
So it's in New York.
Yeah.
Bigger in New York than in Newark?
I'd say right now we have a couple more schools in New York than we do in Newark, but Newark is definitely on the rise for us because we're partnering with the school system there and we're doing a lot of initiatives to help grow the program. And
full disclosure, folks who know us and you go on our website, which will come up in a moment, one of our programs called Stand and Deliver. We've been doing it for 16 years now. It's a leadership and communication program where we teach leadership and communication skills to young people. You see that website, it may say steveadubato.org, but when you go on, you'll see a big spot that says Stand and Deliver. We started it for inner city kids, mostly in Newark, because that's where I was born and raised. Those hours from 3 to 6, whether you're teaching them communication, leadership, how to interact with others, study habits, all those things.
Yeah.
For a lot of these kids, particularly in our inner cities, tell folks who may not understand it what they would otherwise face.
It's the reality that we read about in the newspapers, see in the newsreels in the morning. It's you're walking home and things can happen, whether it's susceptibility to gangs, it's walking home to a refrigerator that is not stocked with food that you want to eat or that's healthy for them to eat. It's walking home into an apartment or to a house where there isn't an adult waiting for them to support them and give them the kind of love and guidance they need in order to prepare them for the next day. It's all of those things. It's the violence that they're susceptible to. I don't want to just put a broad blanket upon that because I think that there are a lot of great neighborhoods and a lot of great families.
But those things can happen and do.
Yeah.
Who started this program?
This program was started by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Come on.
Yeah.
I know, I heard that. I said, really, Arnold?
Yeah, by Arnold. I've had the pleasure of meeting him a couple times. He's still deeply engaged in the program. This is a commitment of his. You think it's kind of a funny thing, or he just might have done this as a one-off, but he tells the joke I've heard at least, and I think he's even told it to me, was that you can't be at a family dinner with the Kennedys and with the Shrivers. You know, that's the family who started the Peace Corps, and only talk about your movies and your muscles.
It was about giving back.
Absolutely. I mean, for him, I think it's clearly for him. I think when he talks about it, growing up where he grew up and grew up in Austria, you know, he had that every day. He had his parents at home every evening, and I think when you understand what it means to have folks that are there to support you, and you saw in the video that we started this with, when you understand what it means to have someone who says, I believe in you, you understand how vital that is. It's the game changer, and I think it's why he became so passionate about this specific initiative and issue and has been part of it for the last 22 years.
What about you? What's your story? Why are you so passionate? Where'd you come from?
I grew up in Washington, D.C. I grew up in what I consider to be a pretty privileged background. You know, I grew up, my family was, my father was an engineer, and everybody I knew was a professional. And we had every team you can imagine. I had soccer practice every day after school because Mr. Hughes, who was my soccer coach, would leave his job every day to be our coach, and we had assistant coaches. So I always had structured activity, and I never had to pay a dime for it. And they were always there, Saturday, Sunday to take us to games, Monday through Friday for practice. And that was where I got leadership, built all my best friends, my relationships, so I understand what it means to have that. And I just want to share it with others.
What do you see in these kids?
You see, for me personally, it's when I go to those schools and I spend time in my schools, I get a shot in the arm every time, because I recognize that they all appreciate it, but the light is there, the brilliance is there. The desire to really want to explore all the things that we talk about, whether it's science, technology, or it's sports, it's all there. They just need someone to really encourage and keep pushing them. But it's all right there. The light is right, it's on.
The investment, how much money are we talking?
The investment is modest. I mean, I will say this. This morning I'm watching the news, and in New York City last year, the state spent about $22,000 per child. Our program costs about $1,300 for an entire year, 3 to 6 per child. Just do the math on that. It's for 50% more time, another 3 hours per day. We're talking another $1,300 per year per child.
Yeah, let's talk about how much it costs to incarcerate someone for a year. That's a whole nother story.
I tell folks we want to pay on the front end and pay on the back end. This isn't to make the assumption that every child is going to end up in that pipeline, but it is to say we can make a modest investment in this now, and we're having a hard time doing this because after school is often always cut. Or we can make a larger investment later on.
Dax, before I let you out of here, as a student of leadership, people who know the series know I asked this question.
Yeah.
Two-parter. One, biggest leadership lesson you've learned so far in life is?
Biggest leadership lesson easily is stick with it. Stay the course. Stay the course. Stay the course.
How about when it gets hard?
Stay the course. I think that's when you start to find out really who's by your side. You start to realize that miracles happen, that if you really believe in things, that doors start to open that you didn't imagine, and people start to open up and share with you their expertise and experience, but you have to stay the course.
Finally, we're taping in mid-September, but in October you got a big fundraising event.
Yeah, for World Trade Center, we're doing a stair climb event. So we're all about health and fitness for our kids, so we want to pass it along to our supporters. We're going to have a great party at the top of the World Trade Center, and we're really looking for climbers, we're looking for volunteers. It's an opportunity to really to get involved and get engaged, and we're hoping to get folks to really come out and support. And if you can't come out, you can still support us by going to the website and punching in. It's ASASNY or asasnnewark.org, and we're right there. You can contribute. We'd love to have the support.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, sir.
Dax-Devlon Ross, Executive Director, After School All-Stars in New York City and Newark. Thank you so much.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD, and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We are pleased to welcome Stephanie Mulfinger, Director of Call Center Services at Mental Health Association of New Jersey, an organization we've been working with to try to deal with a whole range of mental health issues. But one of the issues that we've been talking about a lot with your organization really deals with opiate abuse, the heroin problem. What is it? Why is it so serious? And by the way, you're going to see a couple of telephone numbers up that are critically important. The New Jersey, the NJ Connect for Recovery line, which we'll talk about, and also the New Jersey Mental Health Care line, both numbers critical. The opiate problem.
The opiate problem really in part comes out of, in the last 10 years, there have been an increase in prescription painkillers written, things like Oxycontin, Percocet, things like that. What people don't realize, now this is something legally prescribed by a doctor. They think they're doing something safe or something a teen grabs out of a medicine cabinet impulsively. People don't realize how addictive these things are. They become addictive, they can't get a script again, they become desperate. Choices are buy pills on the street for $35 a pill, or it gets easy to turn to heroin, $4 to $6 a bag, cheaper than the average cup of coffee.
How easy?
It's $4 to $6 a bag. It's cheaper than the average cup of coffee. And New Jersey is seeing one of the largest problems in the country because where we're located, in one of the largest import zones for heroin in the world, right in between Port Newark and Elizabeth and Philadelphia. So there's a lot coming in, and it's really pure because people are getting it right away.
And let's talk about NJ Connect. What is it? Why is it so critically important?
Sure. Like I said, there's an epidemic in New Jersey. People are dying. New Jersey Connect for Recovery could be a lifeline.
What is it? You call it, someone calls it, listen, we hope you don't have a problem, but there are too many people who do, so we know realistically people are going to use it. You call, what's on the other end? Who's on the other end?
Sure. It's a toll-free, confidential helpline specifically for two populations, only one in New Jersey for these two populations. People concerned about their own opiate use, prescription painkillers we talked about, or heroin, and their family members, friends, and loved ones. And there's the really important part, that we're treating holistically the entire system when there's addiction.
Why do you need to do that? Why won't you just deal with the person who's struggling, who's challenged?
Right. Why is that important? Because when there's addiction, it affects every aspect of a person's life. It decimates every relationship. Entire families suffer. This is a national epidemic, but it's taking one family at a time.
What do the families need?
What do they need? They need what our line is giving them. You asked who answers it.
Yeah.
The other thing is we have a really unique staff. We blended staff. We have two kinds of people that people can access. Certified alcohol and drug counselors, but then we have family peer specialists. They're individuals.
Family peer specialists.
Family peer specialists. The key being there that they have their own experience with addiction in their family, also trained in a counseling model. So they can bring to it, how do you survive this if you're a family member? What tools do you use? Where do you find help? Where do you find hope? So that's what our family peer specialists do, and that's what people can get when they call the line.
Talk about the other line. There's another line, Jen, let's put it up. That is, well, the overall line for New Jersey Mental Health Care's line. Mm-hmm. Because the Mental Health Association provides services in a whole range of areas. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about this.
Sure. The New Jersey Mental Health Care's helpline actually is celebrating its 10th anniversary next month.
Congratulations.
Yeah. In the area of 180,000 calls in 10 years. And what they have been doing, again, that is professionals on the phone who are helping people navigate the public and not-for-profit mental health system. And again, doing holistic...
Hard to navigate?
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yes. It's, it can be difficult, because remember, Someone who's experiencing a substance use or a behavioral health problem, you know, they're already overwhelmed. You know, they're already struggling in a lot of areas of their life. So sometimes it helps to have somebody to walk through the pieces. Sometimes the answers are not straightforward.
I'm thinking about this. Someone who's struggling, someone who is in the throes of these challenges. What would it take for that person to pick up that phone and do this?
That is a great question. And that really speaks to, on all our lines, why we have, you know, trained professionals answering or trained peer specialists, because they need to hear, one of the things we make sure they hear is that it is safe and non-judgmental.
What does that mean, non-judgmental?
Non-judgmental meaning wherever you're at, whatever your question is, whatever you're afraid of, we can start there. They need to hear, thanks for calling today, because we know that's not an easy thing to do.
The rest of us, do we, Stephanie, not understand enough, I mean, as non-professionals in the field, who sometimes, when we know of someone who's struggling with addiction, and I often say full disclosure, I'm proud, really proud of this disclosure. I've moderated some really powerful forums held by the Mental Health Association where I've learned so much, where I thought I knew something and I realized I didn't know anything about this. But one of the things that really struck me is that sometimes we assume that someone who is in the throes of addiction, that they can quote unquote tough it out. And I often have asked myself with some friends and family members, like with so much on the line with children and their children, I think, don't you see what you are doing? We don't help when we do that, do we?
No, I mean, I think one of the things that's happening with this movement towards more holistic recovery and looking at this as an illness and a challenge rather than a law enforcement issue is that, right, people are struggling, and if they could change it that easily, they would, but they can't, and that's why we need these supports.
So for the rest of us,
yeah.
Again, calling the line is critically important. We're real professionals are there. We are not. Is there any, or is it dangerous? Tell me if it's dangerous to give anecdotal advice to the rest of us as to how we can help those around us who are struggling. Is there any one thing we could do that won't hurt, but might be helpful?
Start exactly where we start in the line. You know, safe, no judgment. You know what? What's going on? Let's just talk about what's happening. It's okay. No matter what you tell me, we'll figure it out.
That person needs to know they're safe, they're not being judged.
They're not being judged.
And there is help. And is it okay to try to encourage that person to call that line?
That'd be great. Call the line, save a life.
Can we call the line ourselves and hand them the phone?
Yes. Could I tell a story?
Sure, real quick.
Real quick story. I think that illustrates the work of the line. We had a mom call, got one of our family peer specialists. Okay, she was just distraught because she's trying to find a way to get her son to save his life. You know, he's using heroin, dropped out of school, working sporadically. She makes that connection with the peer specialist. Okay, here's the magic. She says, you know, my son's in the house, could I put him on the phone? The peer specialist is able to transfer the call right over to one of our certified alcohol and drug counselors. The son gets on the line, you know, he's heard it before, they have a conversation. It's exactly what you said. We just start with, look, you know, what's going on right now? Are you controlling heroin? Is heroin controlling you? We get off the phone. We don't know what's going to happen with that family. We don't know what's going to happen with so many families. A few days later, though, that son calls back, asks for that counselor, and says, I'm in rehab. This time I'm staying. And when I'm done, I'm going to keep calling New Jersey Connect for recovery.
There is help on the other end.
There is help.
You know, with everything you've seen and all the struggles and challenges that you faced, what is, you don't expect this question, the biggest leadership challenge you have faced?
Myself as a leader?
Yeah, because you are.
Yes, it's not a hard question. Resources in the system. Resources. There are compassionate people everywhere. There are places to, you know, get the safety, but then, and you know, this is There was a recent article that mentioned, Governor Vitale's bills and
Senator Vitale.
Excuse me,
People
Senator.
love that you just said that, but go ahead.
Senator Vitale's bills, and the Mental Health Association has worked closely with him. And one of the things they're about are funding more treatment services, because lines like ours can be more helpful if there are places to get people to.
Stephanie Mulfinger, Director of Call Center Services at the Mental Health Association of New Jersey. A great organization. Thanks so much. We appreciate it. Stay
Thanks,
right
Steve.
there. We'll be right back right after this. Thank you.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD, and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We're pleased to welcome Dr. Stephen Angeli, who is a cardiologist at Holy Name Medical Center. The topic I'm going to talk to you about today, one of the topics, is angioplasty. What is it?
Angioplasty is a medical term for the opening of a blocked artery, pure and simple. And angioplasty has evolved over the past 2 decades from simple balloon angioplasty, where a simple balloon would be placed inside of a blocked artery. We're talking about the heart now, blockages that would occur in the heart. Open that balloon and remove the balloon, and you'd be left with a wider passage for the blood to flow.
Who's a candidate for that?
And the people that would be candidates for that, first and foremost, would be somebody that's having a heart attack. So the procedure is divided into what we call emergency procedures and more elective procedures. An emergency procedure would be somebody that's coming into the hospital today, now, having chest pain, having a blockage. They need to be brought immediately to an X-ray suite that we call the cardiac cath lab, where we take pictures of the arteries with a test called an angiogram, and then when we see a blockage that we can fix, we fix it. And mostly today, patients will receive 1 or 2 stents to unblock their artery.
So it's interesting. The whole question of these angioplasties, okay? I think there's a lot of confusion about it. I think people don't know exactly what it is. Is it as invasive as, is it invasive?
It is an invasive test, but it's not surgery.
Explain that part.
We don't cut any, there's no incision. The procedure is usually done through a puncture, either through the femoral artery, which is in the groin area, or mostly today we're going through the wrist. And the wrist provides access to the arteries of the heart with a quicker recovery time and a safer procedure overall. So at Holy Name, 90% of our angioplasties and cardiac catheterization procedures are done through the wrist, which is already a standard elsewhere in the world. In Asia and Europe, that's what they're doing. And only now is the United States starting to catch on. And Holy Name is, I would say, way ahead of the curve in terms of doing that.
Talk about this. There's something called, because trials are important. And I'm not sure if this is a clinical trial, but you're the principal investigator, the leader, it really means, of a trial that works to introduce angioplasty to hospitals that don't have it right now. It's called the Seaport trial. What does Seaport stand for?
Seaport was a trial that originated through Johns Hopkins Medical Center and brought to hospitals such as ours that are community hospitals that have a cardiac cath lab and can do cardiac cath but didn't have angioplasty. And over the past 15 years or so, we've been doing angioplasty under the auspices of Seaport, allowing our hospital to do these procedures, reporting the results back to Johns Hopkins, and we've collected a huge amount of data. And what that shows us is that it is safe to do these procedures in a community hospital if care is maintained to provide well-trained staff, well-trained physicians, and adequate volume of cases. When we make sure all those safeguards are in place, we deliver angioplasty services as high quality as a hospital which has open heart surgery backup.
Was that the whole idea of it, is to find out where and under what circumstances you could use angioplasty procedures and where they were, and what conditions you would have to create to make sure they were safe?
Well, understand early on in angioplasty, it was not as safe as it is today.
How long ago? How long ago was the medical literature questioning it?
The first angioplasties were being done in the 1980s.
Okay.
So we're talking 25 to 30 years ago. Yes, they weren't as safe as they are today.
Dramatic improvements?
Dramatic.
Based on what? Like what kinds of changes are we talking about?
The things that have changed are the equipment. Industry is helping us between pioneers in this field who are researching different stents, different quality of apparatus to deliver stents safely, new medications that provide better support for these procedures. And so over the past 25 years, the procedure has become safe enough to say that in certain places it's even being done as an outpatient procedure.
As an outpatient?
Patients can go home same day. Now, we haven't gotten to that point. Usually patients will stay one night, but it is a safe enough procedure where the chance of needing open heart surgery then and there is extremely remote.
Doctor, I'm going to ask you this because this is one thing I do know about you that is atypical for a lot of physicians. You are fluent in 4 languages: Italian, Spanish, Korean, and English.
Well, my wife says my English isn't so great.
Well, what's the deal with the 3 other languages?
Well, just Italian I learned when I went to medical school for a few years in Italy. And then after that, I started to see fewer Italian patients, but more Spanish-speaking patients, and I thought I could learn that language, so I helped.
Spanish you picked up? So what's the Korean issue?
And the Korean, again, I live and work in Bergen County, and we're experiencing an explosion of the Korean population.
Which is part of the Korean outreach program.
Right, we have a Korean outreach program.
Excuse me, the Asian outreach program.
Now it's called the Asian Outreach Program at Holy Name. So it dovetailed into that. I'm very happy that I can start to communicate with patients, understand their symptoms a little better directly from them rather than going through a translator. And also, when you learn the language, when you learn the language, you also learn a bit about the culture. So I think when you learn some of the culture, you can understand what are the barriers to getting good care. Why don't patients listen to you? And if you understand their culture, you can get through.
Well said, Doctor.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the CAUCUS Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by New Jersey Resources, Steve and Elaine Pozycki, the New Jersey Education Association, the North Ward Center, Investors Bank, New Jersey Sharing Network, and by Choose New Jersey. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.